Why do 95% of palm coloreds not have black or people of color as their friends, as statistics show? Now, this observation was done by this palm color woman after doing a research on why it is important to select a jury of people that are anti-orthodoxist rather than anybody that just claims that they're not racially biased, because this enables for a fairer judgment and a conduction of an unbiased trial. This video further dives into why it is a red flag if you are in an interracial relationship and your palm color partner doesn't have a person of color as a friend, because this might just mean that they are personally attracted to you, like just on a personal level they find you attractive, but they might be holding some personal biases towards your race without you knowing it, and it becomes a red flag if you end up marrying such a person. Just think about it. Imagine if you are a brother and you ended up with a palm color woman. Now, you don't know that she's in that relationship because she just wants some offspring that have a little shade of black and white. And after such a long time of being in a relationship with her, all of a sudden when you have an argument, she calls you the forbidden word. Then things really take an opposite turn. Let's take a look at these videos for a moment.
I'm doing this article review for one of my classes that I'm in that I definitely started before week 7, Dr. Becker, if you're seeing this, and I definitely will have it in by 11:59 tomorrow night. Please don't worry about that. But anyways, I'm doing this article review for one of the classes I'm in for forensic psychology, and I'm reading an article about how it's important to select anti-race people to be on juries rather than just people that say that they're not race, or just like explicitly racist people, of course, don't get selected. But like this article talks about the importance of not selecting implicitly race people or non-active non-race people, but actually seeking out anti-race people. Anyways, that's another video. The statistic in this article that really came out and just shocked me says 75% of white people have no friends of color at all. And like off top, that's crazy to me. But I have to think back to 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, when I wasn't as, I don't even know what the word is, anti as I am now, I guess. And I hadn't done all the deconstruction, and I hadn't done all the learning, and I hadn't become the person that I am today and put in the work. And I truly didn't have any friends of color until I was 17. Like, but to think in 2024, after all the information that's out there, and there's so many spaces are available for white people to sit and observe, which is something they're not good at. But there's so many spaces available for white people to just sit and observe black people. This article is specifically about black people, so that's what I'm going to focus on. Just sit and observe black culture, black people, you know, just all around how they are, how they act, their mannerisms, the stuff that's important to them, their family dynamics, all sorts of things. You can sit on this app in particular and just get yourself on Black TikTok and learn about the things that are important to the Black community for free. You can just sit there. You don't even have to let anyone know you're there, and you can just learn. So it's crazy to me to be reading this article in 2024. This article was published in 2022 about how 75% of white people don't have a single friend of color at all. And this article specifically states that the friend cannot just be like, it has to be a friend that you actually would call on in a time of crisis, or like a friend that you would call for advice is what it says. It cannot just be someone that you know that happens to be POC, or even a dating partner, which that's a whole nother video we can get into if we ever want to get into that, because I've been through the whole, well, not through the whole journey, I'm on the whole journey, but I have been through the very extreme race to very anti-race, working towards, you know, always deconstructing that. So I understand what it's like to be a white person in a relationship with a black person and still be racist. It's insane. Anyways, this is just a staggering statistic to me, and I felt like more people need to hear about it, because all in all, this was named one of the biggest indicators of someone who cannot serve on a jury. If you are a white person and you have not one single person of color in your immediate, very close friend group, you likely need to be dismissed from a jury. And 75% of white people don't have that. And most juries are made up of white people, unproportionately. And the whole thing is just like, you know, one more stone in the wall and the bricks of the inequality of the criminal justice system against black people. But I just thought I'd get on here and share that, because this is crazy to me. This is, in 2024, this is just absolutely mind-boggling to me. I don't have a lot of white friends, though, which, so like, I get why no one else wants to be friends with white people except for white people. But if y'all did the work, it would be a lot easier for people to like you. Anyways, that's all I gotta say. Thank you.
I think this is such an important conversation that I will be putting my 2 cents in on. This comment in particular jumped out at me. Most white friend groups do not like when POCs bring up hard issues like race, etc. White friend groups have always seemed very superficial to me, like they don't actually share a ton with each other. So I grew up in the suburbs of Georgia, so in a predominantly white area. I feel like this comment is perfect, because being the black friend in those white friend groups, or being one of the black friends in those white friend groups, it feels very superficial. And this actually reminds me and connects to like the conversations that a lot of people were having during the Black Lives Matter movement, like really questioning why white people weren't having conversations about race in their friend group. And the best answer to that is that a lot of times there was just never a need to have the conversation because you already know what they're thinking. Like you've probably heard a comment that a parent or a family member of theirs has said while you were over at their house, or maybe you've seen some of the tweets that they like, or especially during the Trump presidency, I already know what you're saying in class about things that we're reading, about race and about politics and about whatever we're reading. And I see what you're saying about that. I can definitely draw the conclusion and there's no need to have a conversation about it. And at the same time that was a tough experience to have, yeah, but it makes me more understanding and willing to hear other people's perspectives on things. Like it's really tough that I couldn't always feel safe or comfortable saying what I thought or how I was feeling about something. And this is a really hard conversation to have because of the nuance that exists. Like, yeah, it would have been really great to have friends who cared about my perspective on things, wanted to hear about my experience and wanted to know more about it and wanted to learn from it. But at the same time, also learning that that's just not how the world is. And also that you can be friends with people who have different opinions than you. Like, I'm not going to sit here and excuse people being biased or racist or whatever. Like, I'm not going to say that their views on abortion and gun control and immigration is like things that I agree with. But at the same time, I think it's really important to be young and to encounter people who have different beliefs than you and figure out how to deal with that. Because at the end of the day, that's how we're all moving in the world. Off of the internet, you have to just put up with the people who are around you. Like, we're supposed to be there for each other and all that stuff. And if you're going to do that, you have to be able to put some of that stuff to the side. And I just think that some people learn that at different ages in their lives. And for younger Black people, sometimes that lesson is learned as they're growing up. To be honest now, I definitely am very careful about who I befriend who's white. Like if we're coworkers or whatever, I don't care. But if I'm actively wanting you to be a part of my life, then yeah, I definitely need to know who your friend group is, what they look like. And that sounds bad, but I will not be friends with white people who don't have Black friends now. I've seen what that looks like throughout my entire life, and I don't want that. It just creates like an environment of just like feeling like you can't be yourself and that you're always tiptoeing around stuff and walking on eggshells, and it's uncomfortable. And furthermore, back to the original thing that I was talking about, a lot of those friendships that I had in those white friend groups, or predominantly white friend groups, did not feel real. Like I felt lonely. I felt like I could not turn to certain people when I was down bad. Like, I remember the day Trump got elected, I did not want to go to school that day. I was so upset. I remember I stayed awake that night before watching the votes come in, doing my math homework. And like, I was dragging that next day. And me and my one other Black friend who were in the gifted like language class or whatever, we were really upset that day. And I just remember like our white peers, friends, whatever, were just like, why are you guys so upset? Like, everything's gonna be fine. Like, we're good. Everything's gonna be great. And it's like, you have no clue what this means for Black people existing in America or any minority group existing in America. There's just a lack of genuine want to understand. And that's something that I don't think can't exist in a friendship. And that's why I really don't talk to those people at all now. Like, I still have white friends that I grew up with, yeah, but they're the ones who wanted to grow and wanted to care about my Black experience now. But having Black friends is so important. And I'm not just saying that as a Black person who needed to go and have Black friends, but also for other people who aren't Black. It's important for you to have Black friends so that you can better navigate the world, honestly. And at the same time, I'm saying that it's very important for me to have white friends. Like, we all have to live in the world together and we're all going to see each other. So it makes sense to have friends that look like what you're seeing out in the world. And back to the comment one more time, it was also extremely invalidating to be having open discussions in class about Of Mice and Men, the Poisonwood Bible, talking about like colonialism and imperialism and that white savior complex that people have when they go and do mission trips to Africa. Like, even reading Zora Neale Hurston's book, Their Eyes Are Watching God, and seeing white people analyze it and dissect it or whatever, and it was just in having conversations about colorism and them not even knowing what that is and then explaining that to them. It was just like, I'm literally hearing what you think academically. I don't really need to know what you think personally because I know it aligns directly. And there was even a time when me and my black friend were in a different English class together again. And it was around the time when Brian Kemp was about to become governor of Georgia. And I remember us getting into an argument with two of the people in our classes who could vote at that time, but we couldn't. And they were talking about how they had voted for him previously that day. And one of the white teachers from our hallway coming in and telling us to calm down and relax and all of this or whatever. And it's like, girl, you do not even understand the beginning of this. So put a sock in it. Like, it was just always constantly white people policing us. Like, girl, please. I promise you that this is not the time. Anyways, but I just wanted to add my little perspective in, and this was nice. Okay.
A lot of people asked me to talk about this in the last video, so I'm going to get into it. White women that are in interracial relationships. This comment comes from a video where I'm talking specifically about white people and black people, so I'm going to keep it to the white women in interracial relationships with black men just to keep it simple, but this could pertain other places. First, I'm going to talk about how you can tell, and then I'm going to talk about why I think that is. The number one way to tell that a white woman is raised in an interracial relationship with a black man is that she doesn't have not one friend that's a black woman. And I'm not even talking just true friend, like that's obvious too, but I'm talking that she probably don't even have a black woman as an acquaintance. She probably doesn't even have the black women she works with. This white woman is very set on specifically only black men. The next thing that gives this away is the way that they always talk about how they want biracial babies or black babies on the contingency that those black babies have biracial features. And feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but it rubs me, sorry, there's something in my throat. It rubs me the wrong way when they specifically talk about, I want biracial babies. Your babies are going to be perceived as black. You need to understand that if you bring biracial babies into the world in America, a lot of, especially race white people, are going to perceive your babies as black because they're not fully white. So specifically always saying, I want biracial babies, why can't you just say black? Does that make sense? Maybe I'm wrong there. You guys feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it's giving something weird, you know? Like, your babies are going to be black. They're going to be perceived as black. Why are you grasping on to the little bit of whiteness that they're going to have when that's not how they're going to be perceived? Moving forward, God, sorry. The next thing that gives this away is these white women usually don't have friends of other vulnerable populations. And if they do, they cherry pick which type of vulnerable population they're going to with. So these are the type of white women that'll be like, oh, I have a gay best friend, but they don't actually see that as a person who happens to be gay. They also likely don't have friends on the other end of the spectrum of the LGBTQ community. They probably don't advocate for trans rights or have trans friends. They also probably don't have friends of other ethnicities. Even men, they have these tendencies towards other races besides just the specific black man they're dating. And the reason why they're dating this specific black man, in my opinion, is this very specific type of black man makes it his whole personality to hate black women. And these white women are so insecure that they feel like they can't compete in their own white community. I don't like the way that sounds, but they can't compete against other white people for, anyways, you know what I'm trying to say, I hope. But so they go after these black men to compete with black women, and then they both like bond over this weird hatred that they have for black women. That also ties into why they're not friends with black women, which I said in the beginning. The last really big indicator is that these white women oftentimes don't advocate for black issues. They especially don't advocate for black issues that don't pertain specifically to the black man they're dating. They cannot see outside of themselves. And I guess one more thing, the really big indicator for me is anytime, God damn, I'm sorry about that, but anytime these white women get called out for being in interracial relationships, because it's very easy to see, other people can see all of these signs, their first immediate go-to is, but my boyfriend's black, but my husband's black. Yeah, but how does his mom feel about you? Do his sisters like you? That's what I thought.
Watching this video and hearing the statistic just makes me giggle a little bit, because I feel like as people of color and black people, like, we already peep it, right? Like, when you see a group of white people and they're like, oh my God, you're so cool, we should be friends. My gut reaction, no, because you don't hang out with any other black people, any other people of color. I've never seen you hang out with anyone that does not look like you. And people will be like, but the other way around, reverse race. I can't remember the author of the book, but there is that book, and it's like, why are all the black kids sitting together in the cafeteria? Go read that. But it brings up an interesting conversation that I was having a couple of weeks ago. I was talking to my boyfriend about it, and I was like, I just feel like I don't have any more space for more white friends. Growing up, I had a lot of friends that were from different cultures. So like Kurdish, from Sudan, from Somalia, Eritrea, stuff like that, because I'm Liberian. And then also just like, I grew up in a suburb that had majority black people. So most of the kids I went to school with were black. So most of my friends were black. In high school, I had a very diverse friend group. We had black people, Asian people, any type of people. We had them. We were friends. And then when I went to college, it just felt like that's when I started realizing how overwhelmingly white Tennessee is. And like we had already peeped it, but like there's so many times in college where people would want to be friends or like, let me join your friend group. And I was just like, I just can't even hold a conversation with you because like talking about real issues and real things going on, it just flies over your head because you've never had to experience those things and you don't care about those things because they don't affect you. And it makes you feel like you're like, I don't have any more space in my life for white friends, but it's the truth. I want to talk to people that I can relate to. I want to be around people that understand me and understand my struggle and understand our shared struggles. I don't see why that's such a bad thing. This statistic doesn't shock me because I could literally scroll through my Instagram feed right now and show you a bachelorette party of people I went to high school with, people I went to college with, girls trip, whatever. Every single one of those girls looked exactly the same. And there's maybe the one token friend.
Yeah, what's actually wild is that I didn't even need to know those stats because I already move and live like I already knew that that was true. Like, you guys know what I mean? Basically, if you are going to have white people in your life, you need to vet them because it's a safety thing at this point. Like, we all know it. They don't want to admit it. But, like, for the most part, you need to make sure that these people are right in the head and also doing their own internalized work. And if that's not going on, keep it at arm's length for real. Be safe. Like, wait, y'all should go back and watch that full video because she does drop some more hit info. But like, I'm in an interracial queer relationship, and like we both know how to take care of ourselves and each other, and are like culturally competent. And like most white folks, that's not really the moment. I've had people who just want to be my friend. Just
that video before was great. You should go watch it. But for sure, like people of color notice. You know, I'll just see it in your social media postings, especially like when it's like a birthday party, baby shower, a wedding. Oof, a wedding will tell you everything you need to know. If I don't see no people of color, I know never to try to become friends with you. And it's nothing to do with you. It's just I don't want to enter a situation where I feel like I have to do way more mental work to maintain that friendship for whatever reason. And so yes, it's hard. I've done my duty. I've served my time, and I have a diverse friend group. I have white friends, black friends, Hispanic friends, Asian friends, Native friends, friends in other countries. I speak multiple languages, and I understand that not everybody has that, or they live in a city, or, you know, and I get that. But when 14% of America is African American, and you have all these other people of color groups, you don't have not one person? Nobody? That's a red flag. Double red flag. Unless you live in the country. You probably have the exception. You live in the rural areas, you live in Montana, Idaho, in the country. Okay, exception for you, but everybody else, nah, bro, no, I'm sorry.
Now, this is very important if you have palm coloreds as your friends in your life, or perhaps you have a palm color partner as a spouse, or you work at a palm color dominated firm, because you might just have ended up there because of diversity reasons and not specific relationship or work ethics. At your workplace, maybe you're just a diversity individual that they point to when faced with a racial challenge. Perhaps they want to make an ad that is relatable to the culture from the black community, and they employed you there specifically for such roles. And as much as this conversation is about the relationship dynamic and not specifically concerning work in relation to palm coloreds, but remember, relationships are usually built from specific locations such as school, university, campus, or from a workplace, hence making this example a relatable landscape for us to navigate. And just imagine from this landscape of the university or your workplace, a relationship begins to build because it's palm color dominated. You know deep down that this palm color is not there for a genuine reason, but they're just there for some specific takeaways from your life. Maybe they just want to understand the black culture more, so they engage in conversation with you. Or maybe they've got some fantasies that they've always wanted to express with a person of color. And since you found yourself in that place, that makes you the target. When it comes to relationship dynamics with human beings, that's one of the most crazy concepts, or one of the most hateful concepts to grapple with. The fact that some people might be in a relationship with us, not for the people that we actually are, but for the things that we are there to offer to them. Which reminds me of how the West is always trying to build relationships with the African countries, despite the fact that they might not even like us. Or the Asians, for example, the way they build roads, bridges, and all that. Despite the fact that they don't even like us, but they have to force themselves in a relationship with us and our presidents simply because we've got natural resources to give them. And in the long run, they might actually benefit from investing in our countries, even if that means losing a couple of dollars or a couple of millions of dollars in that period of time. They are looking at the future. In the future, we're going to benefit from these people, because when we build roads for them and bridges for them and bring technology and development to them, they're going to look at us as the pioneers and the people that gave them this development. Hence, they're gonna feel like paying us back, and we end up being in debt to them. But the other perspective I want to point to is the aspect of humans delaying gratification for a future benefit. This is one of the most impressive aspects of humans, and it's actually what distinguishes us from other animals such as the dolphins. Even though the dolphin might be intelligent and might have a bigger brain power or something like that, but delayed gratification is one of the aspects, or one of the most intriguing phenomenons that makes a human being unique. So in simple terms, delayed gratification is when you take a painful action right now so that you can enjoy from it in future. And what that means is you can see your true identity and force yourself to be in a relationship with somebody, ignoring all the racial bias and the racial slurs that you've been harboring for a very long time, just to have those little bundles of joy. And once you get what you've always wanted in this interracial relationship, your true colors then show up at the end of the day. And I think that's one of the most common things that happen in interracial relationships. Like 80% or above 80% of interracial relationships that have ended have usually ended because the palm color partner, at one point during an argument, they showed their racially biased side that they have concealed for a very long time. And it just makes you wonder to say, you've been in a relationship with this person for over 8 years or 10 years, but why did you choose to show this racially biased version of yourself now? And that's when the aspect of delayed gratification comes in. It is because this person fantasized to be in a relationship with a darker skinned person for a very long time, just to benefit in a type of way. And now that they've gotten what they've always wanted, they can now move on with their normal life. And perhaps that's the reason why the ongoing debate about palm colors being racially biased and that they cannot change is still going on. Because that just shows you that when a palm color person is trying to act in a non-racially biased way, they might be just pretending, perhaps to keep a career, or to be in a relationship, or to maintain a bond with a black community or a marginalized community. And in a recent video we did, I saw a lot of comments coming from our viewers suggesting that a palm color person that was trying to educate the black community on the history was just pretending or concealing his true identity, because perhaps he understands that black people are beginning to rise up, and later in the future, black folks are gonna rise to power in a miraculous way. So that aspect was suggesting that he was trying to put himself on the safe side now to enjoy later in the future, hence bringing back the aspect of delayed gratification. Therefore, should we question all the relationships we have with palm color folks? Because all the discussions we have on our channel continue to show us that palm color folks cannot change their racially biased ways. Because for them, this is a cultural heritage, something they inherited for those who paved the way for them. And without it, it's like fish out of water. And we all know fish out of water is dinner for the alligator. I just made that up, but I guess it makes sense because nobody want to be dinner for the alligator, right? We all want to be the dominant race at some point. Anyways, tell me what you think in the comment section. I would like to hear from you concerning the discussion we've had. And if you enjoyed today's topic, please like and subscribe. I will see you in the next video. Bon voyage, signing off. Take care.